One sec, team. Oh, there it is. That's fine. How are we doing, team? Week 3, day 6, quarantine Jiu Jitsu with me, Trevor April, here at Martial Arts. Okay, just like I start most of my classes, whether it's in the real life setting or online, just get our basic warm ups going. Okay, this is the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to do a little bit out of order. Just going to do big hug, alternate arm left to right. Try to touch my shoulder blade. Usually start out with side kicks. I'll face the camera on this. This is kind of as needed. One of my favorite warm-ups. Rock the foot back on our heels, on our toes. So a lot of solo drills and stuff on tap. Use your head and your arms counterbalance. Do a torso twist. Be careful, I have to keep my feet planted when we do this. Should be breathing in through our nose, exhaling through our mouth. And go big circles at our head and neck. Roll my chin to my chest. Ear to your shoulder, forward, backwards, side to side. No idea what I did, Chuck. Oh, twist those hips forward. All right, let's get some side kicks going. Move your 10 to the side, 10 on the other side, and 4, 10. Next thing. All right, I was a little redundant. I'm gonna do this one more time. Big breath in, exhale out, touch our toes. Hold that for a second. Inhale, exhale. Go and walk it out. Keep our hands under our feet. Press the tops of your feet into the mat. Head dangles low, hips up in the air. Big breath in, exhale out. Leaning back to child's pose. All right, just gonna run off speed really quick, set my timer over here. Just gonna do 1 minute squats, head around our shoulders and our hips. Go about as low as your knees. Brush your hip forward on into that. Concentrate on your breathing. In through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Hopefully your knees aren't popping like mine. Once again, locking our breath to our movement. Very important. Twenty more seconds. Ten more seconds. We switch into push-up parachuters after this. All right, dropping down. Just 10-second rest in between. Don't worry, it's gonna start without the timer. Gonna go down and up. Push-up parachute. Push up and parachute. Push up and parachute. 1 whole minute. Big breath in, exhale. Actually, big breath in here. Exhale. Big breath in. Exhale. Thirty more seconds. $15. And flip over our backside. Let's just do it in the middle deep breath version. Drawing a big breath in through our nose. Just doing kind of a lazy abdominal crunch. As we exhale, don't try to lift your upper body too much off of the ground. Big breath in. Just flex that core. Exhale. Repeat the process. In this case, it's for time. I usually say it's quality over quantity. Kind of like friends. Thank you, brother. About 20 more seconds on this. Five more seconds. Nice. Just want to switch to some streamer motions. I'm just going to use the timer as a frame of reference for when I'm switching circles. So we're doing 30 seconds of circles inward and 30 seconds of circles outward. Just going to wait for the timer. I'll start with inward. Once again, that rotation comes from our hips, not our knees necessarily. Some speed helps with this too. Keeping our core activated, very important. Being a little lazy with my hands behind the head. If you want to get an extra neck exercise, you can take your hands off. 10 more seconds in the same direction. And that's the 30-second mark, so we're going to the outside now. This used to be the only direction I could go. I think functionally those inside circles are more useful for guard recovery and stitch. 15 more seconds. Nice. All right, we're going to do some pendulum motions. Pretty much can't ever get away with without being able to do a pendulum motion if you're on your back playing guard. Generally, you don't need it when you're on top, but bottom position. Once again, not robbing ourselves of any power. Straighten that leg out. Or wide motion to the side. So we're just going to go side to side. 1 whole minute on that. Big swing. Side. Big swing. Side. Big swing. Side. Big swing. Don't rob yourself of any power. Always ask yourself, do I rob myself of power? Boy, I failed a lot of pendulum sweeps in my day because I was not doing the right thing. You have to ask yourself, your own honest observer. Was it a technical issue? Was he too big? Maybe it was a technique you weren't supposed to try on this guy? Or was you just need to work on your technique a little bit, or a lot of it, for years? Don't worry, it took me years to figure out I was doing this wrong, among other things. All right, we're just going to do some basic seated guard motions on this, okay? So I'm just going to be rocking, using my legs, rock myself up, bring myself to seated guard, and bring myself all the way up, okay? I'm going to latch my elbow to the side, and I like to hunker down that space. And without talking too much more, rock my leg, bring myself up. And we can kind of use a pendulum on this too. One leg more forward than the other. That's my momentum to sit up. One leg more forward than the other. Watch out not to knee yourself in the face. I'm flexible enough to do so. I've done it one too many times. Definitely recently. About 30 more seconds of this. This is a core exercise. You gotta ask yourself, is my opponent keeping me down? Or am I keeping myself down? Gotta get ourselves up. One leg passes under. This is if I need to get up. I'm doing some sort of sweep. Maybe it's a good old ankle pick. Good old basic, just getting up on a sweep. Ashigarami sweep, who knows? That's a good stretch for me too. Reach out with your foot, bring yourself to where your foot is. Reach out with your foot, bring yourself to where your foot is. I'm kind of robbing myself of power a little bit. That's okay, there we go. Big swing on that. All right, let's do some technical stand-up. So technical stand-up, one foot posted, one hand posted, the other hand somewhere in the middle range here, hips up. I pass my leg under. You can practice a little kick, bring your leg under, and keep facing the same direction that you start facing. So I'm gonna face the camera on this. Kick you in the eye, bring myself up. All right, go to the other side. Boom, kick you where you don't want me to, bring myself up. Always kind of have that hand in the mid-range. Boom, bring myself up. Old school basic stand-up, or get up, or whoever taught it to you. Boom. 30 more seconds. Hopefully you never have to use this in self-defense situation. Right here in our seated guard, find head forward, butt backwards, kick, bring myself up. I'm here, head forward, butt backwards, looking, kick, bring myself up. Couple more, kick, bring myself up. Maybe you're kicking their knee joint, trying to hyperextend, kicking the nether region, trying to kick the face, whatever the situation is, kick, bring yourself up. 10 more seconds. Kick, bring yourself up. Kick, bring yourself up. And that's about it there. Awesome. All right, I'm just gonna grab my belt. Un momento. Okay, let's do some belt drills. So I know last time, or maybe the time before, I showed the basic spider guard drills that we all know and love with the belt. I'm still gonna go over those, but I'm gonna add some extra ones maybe we haven't seen before, stuff that's gonna be able to help you with some sweeps. I'm probably gonna end up showing in the coming weeks when we end up doing more classes online. Don't have all the details on that yet, but I will be using a partner and showing extra stuff. So if this looks familiar when you see it with a human, you can draw to using this on your own here. Okay. So here we go, got the belt. We're just gonna go for that good old classic push and pull first, okay? Stretch one, bring the other one to me, okay? Stretch one, bring the other one to me. Believe me, we all miss training and going through our guards and everything. We gotta do what we can with what's around us to be able to practice. And I know it's not the same, but it's close enough. And this is just good and basic, right? We can make this a little bit more difficult, right? By pushing, pulling, bringing my outside leg inside, practicing our lasso, push, pull, outside, inside, right? Everybody knows this for the most part. I mean, unless anybody's never been to Gumby's class before, this is good. We know and love this, right? This is a good motion too here, okay? Press your foot down, bring the other one up. Press the foot down, bring the other one up. Okay, I wasn't the biggest fan of this control until I realized how important this control is, okay? Been a big fan of this control where pressing down on your opponent's elbow, whatever the situation is, and tilting them over your center. Okay, this is gonna be kind of my main focus for these new drills here. Okay, pressing one down, bringing the other one up. Pressing one down, bringing the other one up. And if you can visualize that this is a human being, right? If I'm tilting somebody's shoulder over their other shoulder, that should equal a sweep on that. And look where their head's going. Okay, their head is going to be going down to the mat there. They're going to be very compelled to go. Okay, so to practice that, okay, some of my favorite spider guard sweeps are very strange little motions, kind of like a little slingshot motion. Okay, this is push and pull. Our instructor Gumby would say That the open guard has the steepest learning curve, which makes a lot of sense, right? You got to develop this sense of grips. You got to develop these sense of hooks, right? And then if without hooks, your grips are kind of worthless. So there's those mode switches. But anyway, let's practice just a good old situation here. Okay, so we're gonna go doing this situation here, putting one leg down, one leg up, right? And be thinking about how I'm gonna sweep my opponent on this. Okay, so I'm actually gonna go for a floating hook here. Okay, and I'm stretching my opponent to the side here. Okay, because sometimes too, this is this basic open guard scenario, right? I know we're really stretching right now with how you have to visualize what's going on. But the most basic open guard, right, is my feet on the fictional hips right here. And I have my knees on the inside of my opponent here, okay? So naturally, from these floating hooks, right, these basic floating hooks, I'm gonna be stretching out at least one, right? And depending on what your goal is, you might wanna put your foot inside here. You might wanna lasso, okay? But right now, I'm gonna keep my shin on the inside, okay? The only difference with what we were doing before is our feet were on the inside, practicing side to side. But now, I'm limited to what I'm going to be able to do. Not really limited, not to just one thing. There's going to be a couple of things, but it does narrow it down. It doesn't limit me. It just narrows down what I'm going to do. Okay. For example, I might want to shoot for omoplata, right? The same thing that the lasso looks like. It's also kind of the omoplata situation. And also, if you kind of want to practice shooting your triangle, well, I got to pull that in between my legs. I know it's kind of weird, right? But that's the only way you can really practice your triangle situation. But let's talk about sweep. But the main point is that we're playing this floating hook here. If you've never played this floating hook, well, I'm just pulling this down over my shin, right? And I'm controlling this. So I was stretching my opponent one way. I have a good kickstand to this side here, okay? Usually when you kick somebody one way, they're gonna end up going the other way. Okay, they come back, right? Watch what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull this through. See that? That's that thing that I was telling you about. Most of the sweeps are this weird motion where it's kind of like this slingshot motion, right? I'm pulling with my arm. I'm keeping this pulling down really strong. And I'm going to kick through. Okay, this is a very important sound. If you can hear it, you can hear that there's friction there. This is very, very important. It means that I was doing this right. If I'm just moving this and there's no tension, there's a problem with this. Okay, so I'm pulling this to me, and my leg moves through. This is very important that my leg move through because I need to be able to get up. See, I'm able to get up. Now we go on top. Okay, one of my students who I haven't seen in forever. Her name's Yao, and she would call this one the angel sweep. Okay, I like the name, but there's probably a better name for it. But let's just call it angel sweep for now, okay, because I miss Yao. Okay, so we're gonna go push and pull here, okay, and I need to get a better strong pull here, okay. If you feel like you're too far away, this isn't quite good. You wanna make sure you've got good grip, okay. And, we're working with what we have to work with because of the belt situation. Because I'm stretching out with my right leg here, I might have been able to sweep them over there too, right? But right now they're moving back, right? Pull the grip through. That friction thing is very important. I'm gonna go back to that, do that again. Boom, here, and bring myself up. And usually I take my foot off of that and end up mounting your opponent, right? Pull those grips up. Once again, it's very goofy and difficult to do on our own, but this motion is hard enough just with the belt. Imagine when you bring an opponent into this. If you wanna get really good at this, you can kind of practice both sides on this, right? So I kind of have a game for each way that I stretch my leg, right? I guess that's kind of how my old instructor was. Like he would say, I have a game for this leg, or I have a game for this leg. He wouldn't necessarily do the same moves on the same side, okay? So I'm not going to do the same sweep on this side. It's going to be slightly different. You just see that, right? So it's going to be the same. I have still my shin on the belt here. Okay, it wasn't going to be here, but this was kind of setting us up for success on this. Okay, so there might be a reason that this shin is down here. Okay. So the only difference is I have my leg straight up in the air right now. I didn't start over here. You can if you want to, right? But for right now, I was here, okay? Because generally, people will pass to this side a lot, okay? If they try to pass this way and I have this spider hook, well, they're not going to be able to pass my guard, right? Imagine that that's my opponent's shoulder. He's not going to be able to pass my guard because of this good, strong structure, right? So I'm really good at keeping this hook up. You should, sometimes you'll throw both hooks in there, and I'll be able to reestablish my spider guard or whatever I need to do. So have it in your mind, if somebody's right-handed, they're going to end up passing to the right side a lot. So therefore, you got to get really good at this left hook here. Okay, so you got to have some sort of game with this. Okay, so I get to practice the same thing, but this one's stretched up, right? So I'm going to do that same friction, kick through, and end up on top. And if you want to get more technical with it, you can kick this one off and end up on top and think about what you're going to do with your mount, or even think about going for your grapevine situation at that point. Okay, So I'm just going to go through that again. You might even be able to start with your floating hooks here, right? Imagine that the feet are on the hips, boom, right away. So I'm stretching right, but I intend to sweep to my left. Okay, so I'll turn myself, but I'm imagining that my opponent's moving, right? I'm going to start to pull that through, very important. Now I can get up, take my foot off, angel sweep. You know, you can play around with whatever you want to do. You can mix and match, right? I'm just showing you something new that maybe you didn't know. Here I am, floating hook. Who knows what I wanted to do? Maybe I lasso. Sometimes you might even be able to unlasso from here and do the same old thing, right? So I'm here, shin, but right now I'm going to do that friction here. Okay, I'm going to turn to the side, friction, end up on top if I want to pull this through. Sometimes you can keep this, right? And imagine that this is somebody's arm. I can pull this through and think that's like an arm lock there. I do this to people a lot because you have the arms separated at that point. Once again, I know it's goofy, but we have to do what we have to do. And these are kind of some new drills that I figured out because obviously we all kind of have to figure out some new stuff. Okay, so I'll just kind of gloss over all those options again. Push, pull, these are the most basic hooks that we have, right? Sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm here, right? I can maybe show one more. So from here, right? This is going to be a little bit harder. So whichever side that you're stretching out, that's the one that you're going to take off. This is kind of difficult because you're going to slide off of your foot, okay? So same old thing here, stretching one side or the other, right? So if I want to stretch to this side, I'm going to pull this one off, right? Because watch this. Imagine that these are the arms. And obviously, hopefully we've been imagining this the whole time. If I tilt my opponent all the way over here and let them post their elbow, there's some cool things that can happen. But if I'm intending to sweep him, I gave him his weight. And generally, they'll push their weight back off of the ground and recenter themselves. So before that elbow would touch the mat, I'm going to make my foot reverse arch, okay? Because I might have been going monkey foot forward. I'm going to go reverse arch on that. Reverse arch so this can slide off. Boom. And look what happens. I sweep them over, kind of angel sweep the same way. It's just a slightly different setup. I'm going to go here, push, pull, push, pull. I'm on this side. Before their elbow would touch, I'm going to slide that off. Boom. Take them over onto the top position. Okay, probably spent a lot of time on that belt stuff. Okay, hopefully that helped you out with some spider guard setups. I'm just going to look at my list of some things that I'm going to do. See what my time is. Awesome. All right, I'm just going to put my B on. I'm going to see something happen on this way. All right, team, let's build some solo progressions. Okay, so one thing I haven't talked about, I don't think at all too much in my classes yet, is just that basic UPA escape from the mount, or just the basic UPA motion. I was talking about it maybe in my last class a little bit, but it was all mixed in with armbar escapes and stuff like that. This is one thing I used to do wrong for a while, and you probably are going down the list now of all these things I used to do wrong. It's a long list, and you should, eventually figure out what you're doing wrong. You probably thought you were doing something right for a long time, but somebody exposes your game at one point or another, or maybe an instructor tries to tweak your game and gives you that one missing little concept and puzzle or that tool, whatever it is. Okay. So once again, I used to do this wrong. I'm going to just kind of demonstrate a couple of ways to do it wrong. You might have got away with doing it wrong for a long time. Sometimes I did, okay, for many years, but you really need to get somebody off you that doesn't want to be there. You got to do this right. Okay. So let's just do our basic bridges first, and I'm going to talk about how to UPA out long. Everybody gets this bridge right for the most part. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, but the end result is always a little bit different. Or everybody has this first instinct. There's this laundry list of things that, and I've said this before. I can give you this pamphlet of what, if you're a beginner, this is what you're going to do wrong, and you can study it for an extended period of time, and you're still going to do those things wrong. It's just because it's just built-in instinct. For whatever reason, just years of evolution or whatever it is, whatever you believe about it, or God-given instinct, whatever it is, we react wrong. So that's why people quit jiu-jitsu, people don't stick around jiu-jitsu, or maybe they rely on their strengths forever and they don't ever really truly experience jiu-jitsu the way that they should, whatever the situation is. Anyway, I'm talking a lot, got a lot of airtime to fill. So knees about as wide as my hips, right? Got my feet firmly connected to the ground, balls of my feet on the ground, heels, toes, everything, right? I'm gonna start just with my basic bridge up, right? Because, Lord forbid you be in a self-defense situation, right? Somebody's directly on top of you. Maybe they're trying to bully your arm, or maybe try to hit you in the face. The most basic thing you want to do first is launch your hips up in the air. And, if they're already in a high mount, that's a whole other problem. But I'm trying to keep my arms nice and tight. Sometimes, blocking your head. Once again, Lord forbid that you're ever in a situation where you're mounted on the ground and dealing with somebody pounding on you. It's probably one of the worst situations to deal with. But just do that big hip bump. So I'm just going to do 10 in a row. And just notice my connection to the ground, my full extension, all that good stuff. In my case too, I'm going to have my neck activated. So I'm going to hips up, hips up. I'm going to do this on a deep breath version too. Big breath in, exhale out. Big breath in, exhale out. Big breath in. Exhale out. I'm just going to finish my last one. All right, that's just straight up in the air, okay? It's not quite where we need to be going, because you're just going to stay there, but you might need to do that first just to have a weight transfer battle, whatever the situation is. So I'm just going to switch an angle here. So now we're going to be turning side to side. I'm pretty sure anybody who's trained jiu-jitsu before, this is one of the very first things that any of us learn, ground fighters, because we know how to use the ground, not necessarily what we like to be on the ground. People tend to reach and do stupid stuff from here. But anyway, let's move forward on this. I'm going to start reaching up and over my collarbone, not just reaching to the side on that, right? And keeping my chin tucked and looking the direction that I'm going helps out a lot, okay? It doesn't help to look this way and then try to go this way, okay? So once again, firmly still connected, feet firmly still connected to the ground, knees about as wide as my shoulders, and hips up, reach up and over, okay? It's kind of a, it's kind of a bad thing to be reaching, right? But it kind of just helps with this motion. And I'm being lazy, and I'm just going to bring myself down. So I'm just going to do 10 times each side, or 5 times each side. Big breath in, exhale out. I'm just noticing that my hips are extending. Okay, another big detail too here. My hips go up. Notice that the far hip should be the first thing going over. Okay, and that should be touching the mat. I haven't gotten to launching off of the mat yet. Here, okay, so hips up and reach. Elbows tight. Hips up and reach. And I'm just going to finish up on this. Eventually, you should be able to do this really fast. And notice how I'm already thinking about how I'm going to be launching off the ground on this. Just a couple more. Should be automatic for anybody training. So that's more than enough. Excuse me. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give all that good Gumby explanation. He likes to do this explanation about it. So that's as far as I can go, right? That's the highest point. That's the apex. That's as far as I can go. So once you've gotten to that point, it looks just like this if I was going to be a standing human being, okay? So if I wanted to jump up in the air, equate the UPA finish to a jump in the air, okay? So watch. If you don't do the escape right, you're just going to be staying here forever, right? Just try to swap those two things together. So that's the same thing as if I was here. See, I didn't travel any place because I didn't accelerate off the ground. Right now, I didn't travel any place because I didn't decide to accelerate off the ground, okay? You're accelerating off the ground. It's going to start from your heels, go to your toes, and then all the other energy is going to transfer. That hip is going to stop on the mat. Okay, so let's talk about some bad ways to do this. Okay, but once again, so the UPA is going to feel the same way that you would come down, going to your heels, going to your toes, and then launching off. Okay, once again, I'm going to be going here. The same thing is going to occur, going from my heels to my toes, and pushing myself up. Okay, so let's look at a bad UPA very quick. So people don't talk about what to do wrong normally, but it's important to show examples, and it's hard for you to see yourself doing things, but just know that anytime an instructor is pointing things out to you, it's nothing personal. It's just they're trying to get you to feel that motion or the move or whatever the situation is that day a certain way. You're not just trying to get through the technique. You're trying to feel and do it right a certain way. So anyway, I'm gonna be here. So I did this great, right? This is great. But watch. I let my hips go down, and I think that my knees are gonna come up and over to this position here. Okay, maybe on somebody who's small, you might get away with doing UPA kind of wrong, but if you really want to get somebody off, that's not going to quite work. Because I've robbed myself of power. That's something that I say a lot, but there's always what's behind the technique, that engine, that concept, or whatever. Jiu-jitsu in a nutshell is what is my legs doing? What is my core doing? What are my arms doing? Okay, gonna be able to say jiu-jitsu in those 3 words: safety, position, finish. I probably haven't said that at all in the last 3 weeks, but it's kind of hard when there's not another opponent. How am I staying safe? Keeping my arms generally tight, and safety is relative to your position, all that good stuff, right? But I don't want to stay here long. Okay, so let's talk about how to do Upa rights. I'm gonna launch pretty far, so I'm gonna start from over here. I'm gonna do a bunch of different angles. So you can judge your success on this by how much your hips are the thing touching the mat first, okay? Because that means you launch your hips, okay, which is the strongest thing in this situation. Your core is generally stronger than all these other things. Core first, legs, and then arms, or maybe vice versa there, depending on the situation here. Maybe you can correct me on that. So watch, hips are going to be the first things touching them. Feet connected, elbows nice and tight. I'm just going to create an angle here. Hips up, and I'm flat here. But I don't want to be flat for long, because being flat is the worst position in jiu-jitsu here, okay? But I got myself to a situation where my hands are on the ground. I'm just gonna go and move myself. Hands are on the ground. That's the first thing, okay? Because there's always gotta be some sort of point of contact to get ourselves up. So that's gonna be the first thing. My upper body's gonna activate, okay, to bring my hips up. Because if you can't get your hips up, it's gonna be really, really hard to bring your knees up, okay? So transfer from the upper body to the hips, to the knees, and then I bring myself up to a good quote-unquote safety position here. Some instructors will teach samurai sword and posture up from here, right? Basic position, gummy choke, hand on the sternum, hand on the hip bone. The most important thing here is head, aligned with your shoulders and your hips, and you're worrying about your posture here, okay? If somebody tries to break down your posture, he's trying to have our hands on the ground, right? Hickson would show how to keep his hips thrusted forward and all that good stuff, right? Action, reaction, it's all about the hips, top and bottom on that. So I'm just gonna do a couple of upas each side, and just note that this is something that you may be doing wrong or still currently doing wrong, but Gumby's really good at ironing out just those basic things. It's something that I thought I used to do okay or right until you learn how to do something or learn a concept or just taught a different way. Just my old instructor wasn't as good with that. So let's just get a couple good upas side to side on this. The feet are tight, knees nice and wide. Okay, launch. It looks like I did a 180 on that, and that seems about right. Head on my controls in the hips, looking good on this. I'm going to go to my other side, right? Because you should be able to do this both sides, very, very important. Because sometimes you might need to upa one way and then I might need to upa other way. Just going to move myself, and that might be a nice drill that you can do too. I'm not really throwing feints necessarily, but sometimes people react aggressively to the feeling of an upa. And what do? If they feel like you're trying to upa them to this side, they're going to end up moving their head to the other. Generally, me being a small guy, sometimes I don't want to throw all my energy into one upa because I might gas myself out. If I can get my opponent kind of moving the way that I can predict them to move, it might be a little bit easier for me to escape. Okay, but it's important to be able to upa to both sides. Okay, that's why you might see me do this and then think, oh, it's down there. Watch again. You might be trying to make them think about their balance or the situation is, right? Who knows? You have a vivid imagination and you're here and you're able to, see your opponent, right? It's very difficult to train on our own. We're preaching about this all the time. Hopefully you can find a training partner at some point, somebody, or you finally got somebody as a beginner. But this is, if you can't teach the upa or you can't do the upa right, you're not going to be really useful to anybody in jiu-jitsu. You might get them through a couple of things, but this is definitely the foundation. Hodger being one of the best in the world, he built his game on defense, and you really need to be the best defender in all situations here. Okay, so I'm kind of just rambling on this. I'm going to move on to the next thing on this. Just check my notes. Oh, awesome. Okay, so we're just going to segue into the next thing. So this is something that you can add. So I'm here in a situation. Everything's good, and now we're here. Okay, so here I am on my knees. In theory, because I had to upa, I'm now in my opponent's closed guard. That's why I'm a bigger fan of hip escaping, because I generally like to be playing my guard, and I'm generally smaller than my opponent. It's hard for me to upa them over. But if you give me the opportunity and it's glaring, like, I'll take it. But generally, my first response is hip escape, try to sweep, right? But now we're in the situation where I'm in my opponent's closed guard. I don't want to stay here long. There's a lot of different ways to stand up in our opponent's guard. You can rely on them for certain situations, but I'm going to show you a situation that you can practice on your own. It might even be just a good exercise all on its own too. your legs are gonna get nice and tired on this. But just imagine that there's a human closing their guard on this. Some of us went through the standing pass class a couple of weeks before quarantine. Everybody remembers kind of how grueling that is. So once again, posture, posture, posture. I tend to like a look above the equator of my vision, right? My head moving up. And generally when people are pulling you, generally your vision will kind of get to where it should be, right? But you don't want to look down, because generally if you're looking down wherever your head's going, your body tends to go, they're going to be breaking your posture down. Not that you can't stand up if your posture is broken, it's just going to be a lot more risky on your part. Let's just go for that good old traditional standing pass from here, okay? I'm imagining that I'm maybe holding the lapels like that samurai sword, but it's going to be all about how am I going to stand up here, okay? So I'm just going to be in line with the mat here, just as an example here, because I kind of use these as an example too. So imagine that this is my opponent being in line here, right? We're looking straight at each other, right at each other, 12 to 12, face to face, whatever it is, okay? So it's very important when you're on bottom that you're looking to see where your opponent's head is. On the other side of the coin too, I need to be aware of how I'm using my balance, okay? My balance is connected to my head and my hips and all that good stuff. But generally, where your head tends to go, your body tends to go, okay? So if I need to balance to my left side, I'm generally gonna start moving my head to that side, okay? Not only that, I'm gonna start activating my hips, because if I can't lift my hips up, it's gonna be very, very hard to get up. I see people try to get their leg up from here, you're nice and low and you're hunkered down, and you have a horrible base. Don't worry, I used to do that a million times over, but nobody really points it out to me. And you don't ever sit on that third perspective very often, but the more and more I was teaching, you tend to see all these things. And it goes across the board, whether it's a child, old person, athletic person, for the most part, across the board, people make these same mistakes. Well, none of us are programmed to do this right. Anyway, so once again, the line here, we're face to face, we're all centered. So when I do this, I'm gonna start transferring my head outside of that line. Okay, so watch this. Hips first, and now I'm gonna start transferring my head over to that side, and I'm gonna lift my leg up here. Okay, so some notes about where my leg is. So within my vision, I can see my foot posted, okay? So in my own vision, my knee is kind of cutting off my ankle, okay? It's just directly in line with my ankle, okay? Foot, knee, hip, and it's basically about a 45-degree angle here, okay? Not too straight, not too bent, somewhere there in between. And my toes are facing to the side here, okay? Sometimes for the doorstop pass, we would have our toes facing forward because we're trying to pry ourselves out of something. Right now, I just want to know where my good balance is. Okay, so I've transferred my head to that side. I was in line with my opponent, but now all of my weight is over to this side. And conversely, so if I didn't do that situation where I'm moving my head to where I know my good post is, if I linger off to where I'm weak, it doesn't take them much if they just trap my arm to just barrel me over to this side. I'm already feeling like I have to fall over. Okay, so don't be that person that transfers their weight to the wrong side on it. So I'm putting myself in line here. You can kind of have any frame of reference on that. You can put any straight object on the ground to kind of have a frame of reference of where you're starting. Okay, it's not really difficult for that. So hips first. That's that thing that Hickson loves, and things that we neglect is using our hips, or a way to stop somebody from hip bump sweeping you, right? Hips up first, right? Always head in line with my knees at the moment until I step my leg up. Goldilocks zone, 45-degree angle, right? Leading towards my leg here. This is just a good basic way to step your leg up and your opponent's closed guard. Okay, and I'm gonna go to the other side just because I need to even things out. Nice wide base, head around the shoulders and the hips, thrusting my hips forward, right? When I need to, hips forward, right? Hips up, leg up at the same time, looking towards the side that I want to balance. I have that good Goldilocks zone. I can see in my vision that my knee is kind of cutting off my foot, right? If my knee was a knife, that front part of my foot would be completely off here, okay? And I'm leaning to the side. My foot is coming, or my leg is coming directly out of the side of my hip here, because humans are weak towards their hips and their shoulders, just the corners of the table here, okay? So I'm just gonna kind of go side to side on this, but my end result is that I wanna get up to my feet, okay? But we gotta practice this side to side first, okay? Just good and basic stuff. Hips up, to the side. Hips up, to the side. Hips up, to the side. I'm just gonna keep going a little bit. Hips up, to the side. 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 Nice. All right, let's move on to the next thing here, okay? So all that
same good material about weight transfer, head transfer, all that stuff is very, very important. Because what I'm going to do is I'm not just going to step up to my one leg. That's kind of the old school way of doing it, is just stepping up one leg and going, reaching back behind and getting myself triangled and all that. I'm going to stand all the way up. And this is kind of, you kind of be getting your squat on, right? There's a couple different ways that we can do this. Okay, so same position here. Okay, whichever situation that you want with your arms, sometimes samurai sword or just basic situation. I would be imagining definitely that I'm kind of grabbing with my hands, because generally we'll kind of grab the kimono, right? Without the kimono, there's a lot of different ways to stand, but don't worry about that for now. Okay, head balancing here. Okay, I want to balance to my left side because I want to make my right side light. Okay, that's a huge thing in jiu-jitsu is weight transfer. It's very, very important. So I keep my weight over my knee here. It's gonna be very, very hard to get up to my leg. So I transfer to the other side and see how I'm kind of stretching my leg out, almost the same way that I'd be doing for armbar, but that's I'm just gonna thrust my hips up and finish here. Okay, so a lot of different positions for our legs. This is just a basic wide position finish here. There might be reasons to bring our knees together, to bring our opponent's hips down to the ground. People know that I like to use that standing cast there. But I'm just going to do the basic one where I'm thrusting my hips up, kind of like a squat here. Okay, I can do some different angles on this. So here, I'm going to go right leg first. It doesn't matter which one you use, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. Right leg, weight transfer, hips up. I'm going to go left leg, weight transfer, hips up. Right leg, weight transfer, hips up. Now we do the back. Left leg, weight transfer, hips up. Just gonna do a couple more. Anybody knows if I'm on top there, or I don't want to stick around in your guard very long. Standing up is generally what you see certain high-level guys do. Everybody has a different style. For me, I generally like to stand and pass. A lot of guys here, they tend to like to stand and pass too. Not everybody, but generally standing and passing kind of limits your opponent's options. Anyway, I'll show up. Keep moving. And still up, looking above the equator, so you can keep your balance. This is what happens a lot over here is that you start standing, then your posture gets broken, and then you try to stand, and then you're in this situation here, right? You're going to be very vulnerable. This is a very vulnerable position to be in. Don't worry, you'll end up getting put in it at some point. Anyway, so if you want to make those things, you want to combine those things, you can do that very easily. Elbows nice and tight, feet nice and close, hips up. Knees. I'm thinking about what I gotta do. Weight transfer and up. Always trying to make combination motions as much as possible. Learning to make or move yourself. Just going to make sure. Looking at my notes, seeing where I'm at. Just give me a quick second. I'm also going to grab a quick sip of water. Oh, there we go. One second, be right back. Okay, team, I have a couple of things on the agenda that probably aren't going to fit into this time period. I'm just going to move on to just some of my favorite little like physical therapy things that I like to do. I'm just going to take the gi off for a minute, doesn't quite matter. So we're going to do some belt stretching drills because we're doing some spider guard stuff, and I also have a lacrosse ball and the roller there. I'm just going to get some decent work here. Okay. So the same old thing. I'm just going to put my foot in the middle of the belt. Keep this leg straight and on the ground here. Okay. You want to bring this one up, and I'm going to kind of do my own variation of this. You don't have to do this the way I'm doing it. I'm pretty flexible, so I just like to bring this back behind my head and do extras on this. And trying to keep my leg straight as much as possible. I'm just going to get a good stretch on this. I'm going to go wide on this. All right, once again, you see me have this behind my head, but you don't have to keep that there. I kind of just like to lounge like this. Big deep breaths, of course. I'm sweating a little bit. Switch to the other side. Once again, I like to put my belt behind my head. You don't have to do that. Ooh, I felt that back move. So we do for one side, what we should do to the other. Same old thing, about in the middle there. I like to pull it around my head. That's what I like to do. Go wide, back behind the head. Breathing. Kind of get a little side stretch out of this too, depending on your tilting. Switch into the side. Nice, one more. With the belt anyway. So you can be on your knees, you can be standing, you can do whatever you want to do with this. It could be wide, it's probably better that this is wide, but I'm gonna go around my head, right? You see CrossFitters do this a lot. Bring this down. There's a point where you can just relax for a second here to get that good wide chest stretch. And also rotate this over this side. It gets that good lat stretch. Do the same thing on this side. Feels pretty good actually. Once again, chest stretch. Do what you need to do on that. Also, it's good for our shoulder mobility. If you need to adjust depending on how your arms are, just a little bit. There we go. This is a good stretch this way. Backing up a little the other way. Same way. Backing over the other way. Once again, it's just a thing I stole from years of watching CrossFitters. Our whole gym used to be in a CrossFit gym. Oh, nice. All right, let's do some basic foam roller stuff. Actually, let me talk about the lacrosse ball. We already talked about the foam rolling, but I kind of just use this as a helper. Actually, I need the long one. Just give me 1 second. Lots of different style of foam rollers. This is just a very basic one. Okay, lacrosse ball. Look it up. Lacrosse ball, very dense. It's good for the myofascial release, the relief of lactic acid and all that sort of thing. This is just one that I'm doing now. You can have it between your hands and squeeze that. But there's better ways to do this. I'm just gonna start with the upper body on this. Put myself to the side here. If you have a foam roller, you allow it to be about parallel your shoulders. You can allow your arm to rest. Use this hard lacrosse ball, drive into your shoulder. It's pretty good. I'm just gonna get a decent amount of repetition on all this. And obviously you can use your imagination for what else you can use this for. I'm just showing you some different ways that I like to do this. And I'm set up to do all the other foam roller stuff. It all depends on your level of soreness, bicep, depending on what's going on with that. Top of the forearm, our grip strength gets really, really tired. Show some more on that, right? My shoulders tend to get really, really tired depending on what day it is. Always want to do the same thing to the other side. Going to the other side, the cross ball. You can always adjust depending on how you need to relax, right? Because the hardest thing is when you're giving yourself like a massage or whatever it is to relax. So I have to relax that muscle group as much as possible. It's difficult. And those deltoids get really, really, really tired. By the same token, so I'm here still. Use this on your chest. Upper chest is great. Circular motions, straight motions. You just always kind of imagine how the muscle fibers are built, and generally that's kind of the way you want to massage them, right? It's kind of crazy to see pictures of how the muscle fibers stretch and all that, kind of resemble rubber bands. Just big deep breaths. All right, going to more of the lazy section, kind of more after training, and also depending on how sore your core is. The lacrosse ball is amazing for when your abs are like ridiculously sore. Okay, so I'm just gonna let my legs relax and stretch. And obviously you have all these different ab muscles here. So depending on where you're sore, I like to always start at the top, right? And just going side to side on that, and just work your way up and down depending on what you need to do. For me, I'm really, really sore just from doing a lot of core work, so might linger a little bit lower here for a little bit. But obviously you don't want to do this too long. don't want to end up hurting yourself, but doing these at the right time when you're warm, at the end of training, before training, if you need to, because your body's just killing you. Just gonna work through this core a little bit. All right, let's do a couple extras. Okay, so the same way that I like to do my foam rollers here, like moving back and forth. Just gonna move that back. Sit. Maybe sit my head on this. I'm gonna use this on once again next to the spine, never on the spine because that's gonna hurt, right, in the meaty part. And I'm gonna try to guide my weight on top. So I'm gonna use both of my feet in this case, and I'm gonna be pressuring my weight on the ball here. Okay, so it's all kind of as needed sort of thing, right? But this is basically how I can keep myself training on a normal training week. Where, you have to get some sort of release on this. Moving the ball up as I need to, you move it down as you need to. I'm just using my hand. There's a quick little switch you can make. You can make your hips up, pass one thing to the other, now to the other side. As you can tell, I've done this a lot. Just working through this. Working through it. You can move as high as you need to on that. Generally, it's better to use the foam roller to hit certain parts. Once again, it's all as needed. I feel like this is really effective. Oh, and another one too here. Okay, so I'm gonna use my hand. Okay, so the ball is gonna be on the mat, and I'm gonna be putting my hand basically directly on top of my tailbone here. Okay, so my tailbone is gonna be kind of like that counter first. I'm gonna be kind of fighting. You can figure this out on your own. Obviously, don't hurt yourself when you do this. But I'm kind of searching for this meaty part on my hand here. Okay, so I'm going here. I got this under, and so I know it's very difficult to see, but it's something you can experiment with. So I have the pointy part of that tailbone, or more than likely my pelvis, my hips, right? And I'm just massaging my hand out on this. Okay, really helps out a lot. I do drumming and I do other things that my grips need to be functional, so I constantly have to be getting my hands in order. Switch to the other side. Obviously, you can't go for too long. And believe me, this feels a lot better than not doing it. And sometimes you don't need your hand directly on your tailbone. You can kind of use the side of your glute. It all kind of depends on what you're doing. Generally, with my right hand, I'll do it right on the tailbone. But right now, this one, I'm kind of just doing it on the glute. And once again, by the same token, you can use this on your glute, right? This feels really good too, right? Well, anyway, I probably would go all day with relaxing finishes. All right, team. I have my gi outfits. It's okay. Thanks for sticking around. Okay, we're going to be adding more classes to the repertoire. Maybe not necessarily next week, but eventually you're just going to be working with a partner. Hopefully, we can add some stuff. Whether there's going to be hopefully just as many solo drills, but we're going to be working with a partner more, and once again expanding our classes. That's going to be the end of this evening's class. Thanks for sticking around. I was Trevor from Heroes Martial Arts. Hopefully, everybody has a good evening.